You are listening to 99.1 WQRT LP Indianapolis, and this is Create Here. Produced by artists and curators from Big Car Collaborative, Create Here is your place to listen to conversations with people making intriguing, innovative, and impactful things happen on the cultural front in Indianapolis, Indiana, and beyond. Find out more and access additional episodes at WQRT.org.
Hello, and thank you for listening into our interview with 2025 Aurora plus Herron resident Shawn Bush. Thanks also to our partners in the residency, including Herron School of Art and Design and Tube Factory Big Car. And a special thanks to Landon Caldwell Big Car for helping us out in the studio today. I'm Mary Goodwin from Aurora PhotoCenter. We're an indie-based nonprofit that supports visual artists working in photography through exhibitions, workshops, residencies, artist talks, and access to creative tools through our darkroom and digital lab. We're located in the Factory Arts District, Suite C9, so stop by and check us out. Today, we're here in conversation with Lens-based artist Shawn Bush, who grew up in Detroit, Michigan. That city's civic history and geographic location have greatly influenced his understanding of physical space within an American socio-political and socio-economic landscape. Bush's photographs and collages reflect overdeveloped systems, distorted icons, and collapsing mythologies. He earned an MFA from Rhode Island School of Design and a BA from Columbia College in Chicago. He was a 2025 Lightwork Artist in Residence, a 2021 recipient of the Aperture Creators Lab Photo Fund, a 2022 member of the Silver List, and the list goes on and on. Most recently, he won a Charta Photo Book Award and will have a monograph of his project, Angle of Draw, published in conjunction with the award in 2025. So welcome, Shawn.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure having you here.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here.
Yeah. I love to start these conversations out by asking kind of like what started you out with art and especially with photography. Where did your calling for this medium come from?
Skateboarding, ironically. Here we go. Yeah, through skateboarding. I grew up skateboarding and picked up a camera to essentially document my friends skateboarding, which I found a lot of fun with. And I started in video because skateboard videos are like the currency of skateboarding in a way, because if you don't see it, it didn't happen, right? Yeah. Which is different nowadays with social media. But yeah, that's how I started. So I grew up making skateboard videos, filming them, working with a local skate shop. Shout out to Plus in Detroit, amazing people there. Did that I made skateboard videos for 5-6 years, and then got sick of following people skateboarding and got more interested in just taking pictures and kind of standing around and lighting and the decisive moment. And then that's really when I began to take photographs. And then was graduating high school at the same time, and got to make a choice to work a job or go to college. So I went to Columbia College and pursued. I actually started in cinema there because I was still in that path at that time. So yeah, that's kind of the base of it.
Well, what did your family think about you getting into the arts? Was anybody else in your family already kind of going down that avenue, or was that something new?
My sister is an interior designer, actually. So within, I would consider that kind of art, commercial art, different avenues there.
Absolutely.
It depends on how you want to frame that. I think like a lot of people that pursue a degree, it's like, especially 10, 15 years ago, like what job are you going to get? That right. Kind of thing, which I understand because I'm a parent now. I'd be like, oh God, Cooper, you're going to go to be an experimental sound artist. That sounds wonderful. But, I would be a little worried about the financial aspect of it. So they were supportive, and that's part of why I went to Columbia and started in cinema, really, because I was more interested in photography. But they thought that there'd be an easier path for me to make money, essentially, as working on a set, perhaps that's or within cinema, because there's so many people, and that's also kind of what put me off to it, is that I didn't want to hold tape on set for 15, 20 years before. I wanted to make, and that's where you can pick up a camera and take a picture and be your own cinematographer, storyteller right away.
It's more immediate.
Exactly. Yeah.
So at this point, who were your photographers? Who were you looking at?
I was a bad undergrad. I really only cared about skateboarding, to be honest. I enjoyed photography, but I think it was the structure of that program too. I can't remember if we were talking about this, but at Columbia, it's half commercial, half art, and you kind of like dip your toes, and then the last year you find your way, or if you want to do this or that. So for me, I was heavily influenced just again by skateboarding, and like everything that was like part of my identity more. So it changed though when I think I told you about Paul D'Amato, who was an educator, and the structure of the program again was like all these different things. So it'd be like, make a great picture of an orange that you can put in a Kroger ad, and then go take some experimental photograph, and then like and none of this stuff like cohesively makes sense visually or conceptually. So it was when I took documentary photography, and that was a big moment, life-changing moment for me to see like, oh yeah, I can tell my own story, kind of like what I was mentioning before. I can put that together. I can make a book. We had to make a book too, and that was a huge thing as well as bookmaking for me. So yeah, having that opportunity to work with Paul twice was huge, and then connect with him after, and he pushed me to actually get my master's. When he asked me if I was going to go, I was like, no. But then, of course, I did.
You did.
Unfortunately or fortunately.
Was that a big shift when you went from Columbia in Chicago to Rhode Island for your MFA? Yeah.
Well, I had a buffer. So I had a 6-year buffer between undergrad and grad school. And I worked at Playboy magazine for a little bit as a studio assistant. Again, kind of tried out. I was lucky to get a job. I got that job because of skateboarding, because I was selling my large format camera like 2 months after graduation because I needed money. And I was staying in this DIY art, music, actually kind of akin to what we have here in a way, but not as cool. Art, music venue, gallery space that we all lived in, and in the middle was a big half pipe. And
hopefully you have pictures of that.
Oh, there's all sorts of media. The photographer asked if I built that, and I was like, oh wow, maybe you can build sets. And we went to the same school, and then that was a big thing for me. So I worked there, and then I worked at a skateboard company, which I thought was a dream job at the time. But then I was working just in a different brand of commercial art. Mm-hmm. It was just like in like something that I enjoyed, but it was still, after I worked in, I was like, wow, this is commercial art. It doesn't matter if I'm selling you perfume or skateboards or pens. It doesn't, it doesn't really matter. I don't really want to take those kind of pictures and persuade people to consume just commercial goods, basically. So I wanted to connect more with people.
So that time taught you what you didn't want to do.
More so, yeah. And I think that's the hard part. I was talking to some other educators last night, or the other night. We met up for dinner. It's like he was saying one of the first things he says to his students is all the jobs that he had between now or like high school and then becoming an educator, like all these weird jobs that you're like trying out to figure out who you are, what you like and what you don't like more so, and then finally at some point it feels like you're kind of there, but then you're still ebbing, flowing, and growing.
Yeah, so you had like some specific direction when you got to RISD then? Kinda,
yeah. And I just knew what I didn't want to do, basically. Mm-hmm. In photography, I was with Paul D'Amato, so I was working in documentary photography, very traditional photography, and I didn't want to do that anymore. Or I wanted to try new things and have a space that would allow that, and RISD's kind of a weird school, so it felt like a good place. And I was living in California and San Francisco, and making documentary work out there too, and I just wanted to, like, I knew if I applied to any school in California, I would just continue it. So I applied to only schools on the East Coast, so I had to completely, like, dislodge myself. So about a month and a half after I got married, I popped another question to my wife. It's like, hey, I think I'm going to go to grad school. I would like to, move across the country, which was hard just because we love California so much. But it helped us grow together and then form our family and be happier as well.
So you are at RISD for 3 years?
2 years.
2 years.
3 would have been fun. I envy the 3-year programs.
Did you go directly from RISD to where you are now in Wyoming?
I did.
Teach?
Yeah, unfortunately, I had to miss, I forget what it's called. It has a really weird name. It's called, like, knighting or some, like you put on some cloth or something. It's like a full day of it. But I had to miss that to go out to my interview to Wyoming and, party with all my cohorts, unfortunately. But it was worth it. Again, like, I went to RISD to expand my practice, but also to teach because, again, I didn't really want to work in commercial art. I wanted to share my skills and my love and my knowledge rather than give it, say, buy this, because I don't really care if you buy that.
Maybe now would be like a good time to talk about your book publishing company. I love to touch on this now, since we're talking about things that we sell, as artists. Books are something that we sell, but you are doing it in a very specific way at your company, Deus. Am I saying that correctly?
You are, yeah.
Okay. Deus Books. You started off with Deus in 2019 with a book called At No Point in Between by Zora J. Murph.
Mm-hmm.
And that book was a runaway success, critically. And I know it's sold out. And it kind of established the expectation that people have about your book publishing program, about like small batch, handmade, with great attention to detail. And you said that you kind of got into books in undergrad, and then you get to your teaching job, and Deus starts pretty shortly thereafter, right?
Yeah. That was when I was in when I was at RISD. I was taking jet fuel and removing prints of Tom Cruise and doing and all these weird things, but also making just like books. And I had a background with it and worked as a designer for other people, and it was really pushed on me by some of my mentors at RISD, like, maybe you should do this. So again, like, all my mentors, unfortunately, they put an earworm in, and then I'm like, maybe I should. But a lot of that too was moving to Wyoming, Casper, Central Wyoming, to anybody that has the fortune of going there. It's beautiful, but it's very isolating in regards to a lot of things, but especially like arts culture and any culture that's not conservative or traditional, which I'm certainly not. So that was my way to kind of be embedded within the community and contribute to the community, rather than making an imprint that's like called Shawn Bush Press, and it's like all my books. And it was a different model to focus on people that weren't having their books published that should, from underrepresented communities, but also, I think, again, maybe it's through my experimentation at RISD, making those weird artworks and then books, but thinking a little more holistically about the book experience. And then again, working as a designer, I would often be like, hey, let's try this thing, it'd be really cool, it'd really like add some jazz to this book. And it was always like, no, it's not enough money. And that's where I was like, okay, well, I'll just like hand make them, or do some of these things so I can take the money that I would pay somebody to make covers or case them or, whatever, tip things in, all sorts of things, and then put that towards like painting the edge of a book, so it's all black or things like that. That, again, my model, unfortunately, is not one of profit. So
we've talked about this a couple times.
I make those decisions, and then I'm like, yeah, okay, all right. I got, there's 100 books. I'll make money on 10, and then like I end up giving 8 away, and then 5 are damaged, and then But at the end of the day, it's I'm not doing it for money.
It's a labor of love.
If I was going to do it for money, I'd be structuring it like everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So your model, the difference that you and your belief in quality over quantity and attention to detail. I mean, the proof is in all the books, right? I mean, they're gorgeous. Each one has been a big success, gotten a lot of attention, and your program is definitely envied for the quality of the books that you make, for sure, and known for that. So you are teaching in Wyoming. Mm-hmm. You're publishing other people's books, and then you also have a very successful practice of your own photographic research, and that kind of brings us to why you're here in Indianapolis right now for this residency. Let's talk a little bit about Land, Sea, and Air, the series of work that you're printing while you're here in Indianapolis. When did you start working on that, and what are the central focus? What's the central concern of that work?
Well, I started working on it, and I made it all in because I write down the date, when I developed the negatives, made them, whatever. So I made them all in like 3 or 4 months, just because it's so series based, and it's a little different than how I've worked before. So I was interested in 2023, like August to January of the next year to 2024, so not long. But I've been working on a project called Angle Draw, which is the title of the book that's going to come out, and it's focused on themes of power, I would say, through the lens of the energy industry, which is local to me in Wyoming. Casper is known as the oil city. There's all sorts of artifacts of that industry within that are visible and then not within the water and whatnot, unfortunately. But it made me really think about, I mean, we're always going to be responsive to our life, what we're surrounded by. So moving there and being surrounded by that was like, holy crap, this is wild. Like there's a lot of like it's just so divided. Like our country is so divided, but it was like me jumping into the red pool. So I had to kind of respond to that in a way, but a lot of it too. So that's where the Angle Draw work was coming from, was responding to the energy industry, the lack of accountability within that space, again, how it's being commercialized. But then when my wife and I took a trip to San Francisco, I think it was probably 2019 because it was pre-COVID, and I downloaded a bunch of stuff on my phone just to read, and I came across the article. I think it was, I forget where it was, it doesn't really matter because it's been covered enough now, where they spoke about this 1982 report that ExxonMobil had came out with, that was given to 15 of their CEOs in the company in 1982 in November, and it just clearly explains what they're doing and how that's going to affect the world in the present tense and in the future, which is, it's kind of like ringing the bell. But what was so disturbing to me is there's the timelines of everything and the data and the graphs, which I use a lot in this series. that are spot on. So like they know exactly where we are now in terms of global warming and CO2 emissions and how much time we really have left. That was all known in like 1978, 1967, starting from there when they started the research. So that just lit like a fire in me. But it was also it might have been the day before, but it was right around there where me and my wife were talking about potentially having a child. So it just, for lack of a better term, it just knocks me off more to like see that timeline and then think about like my end of that timeline and then his timeline, and how things are going to change and how they just didn't they responded with propaganda campaigns and misleading information and things like that instead of like trying to shift their practices to just help the world.
Total denial of their role.
Exactly. Like don't look over here, this kind of thing. And that's it's very present in Wyoming. I know when you reached out initially, like you're asking me about that, and like it was at some sort of meeting at the Capitol, but they're passing out pamphlets that said CO2 should be celebrated, not something. It's your best friend. So like they're like acting. There's like these beautiful, seductive pictures of flowers in the landscape that they use, like Exxon used in their advertisements to be like, no, this is clean energy. It's just rebranded, and that just kind of sat with me for a while. So that was probably 2019. So yeah,
you started working
4 years later.
Yeah, you started working with the actual physical report, right? And also images from a couple of other publications like Popular Mechanics and the Encyclopedia of Photography. And you use what you call reframing and collage techniques to kind of really to layer these various sources of information in a way that is kind of heightens the effect of their use as propaganda and instruments of influence and control. But the end compositions are also undeniably quite beautiful and visually engaging. So there's an attention there within the work because of that.
Yeah, I want them to feel kind of brutal, but at the same time, and I'm learning this through interpreting them as prints as well. They can only be so brutal without you just it being like a magnet that's flipped over and pushes you away.
Right.
And I want to flip that magnet over and pull you in. So there has to be some sort of seductive element to that, and that's where, thinking of their strategy and using, like, I think I broke it down into 3 categories: flowers, cars, industry, and then land, sea, and air, like pictures of water, the air, like clouds, and just really basic things that people can kind of connect to and understand. Symbolic meaning through just like a flower instead of being a flower, which is a different thing than taking a picture of a flower in front of like an Exxon station or an oil plant or something of that nature. That's where I tried making pictures like that, but it always felt like I was maybe glorifying those spaces more, when really I'm not. I'm more interested in the middle finger than saying, look at this beautiful flower and this cool power plant and the great clouds and all these things, and feeling that space. I want it to feel kind of, again, brutal in a way.
Let's kind of nerd out here for a second and talk about how you made these compositions, because there is quite a bit of work in camera to get them together. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's a kind of a hybrid process. It all happens in a camera and then in the darkroom finally. So it feels organic, when it comes out, but essentially I'm taking pictures of, I use my phone to start with, and then build my compositions in Photoshop with these basic pictures that I'm using, and then build them out, and then use that as a guide. But I'm taking black paper, and taping that onto the film in the dark, so that it doesn't record or records image in certain areas, and then methodically kind of removing those and exposing in different areas. So sometimes there'll be like a hole behind a picture, and then you pass through it, and then there'll be a hole on top of the picture, and then it feels very layered in that way. But I thought a lot about this printing, but it's so much about perception, the work itself. So having those holes and this layering, and this area where it's like, oh, I see this flower, but then there's like this half circle that, I'm like, why am I seeing, like, now there's text, or there's a picture of Antarctica, or like this diagram here that feels like it shouldn't be there. So it's a lot about layering and kind of not creating a focal point in a way, to make your eye just continually kind of move around.
Yeah, they do feel very...
Be confused.
Yeah, so it has kind of a blanket effect. Like, you do have to... You explore the entire frame, looking for a place to focus. That's true. It's a little disorienting.
Yeah, and printing them has been hard because of that, because I'm trying to match certain things, but I'm learning that... And I teach color theory, so I should understand this, even though I'm working in black and white, but how contextual color and value is. So, if I print this gray background to be a certain gray, and this one, I can't print it to be exactly the same gray in the next one, because whatever's sitting on top of it could be brighter or darker or larger or whatever, and then so it has to be like relative. So it's been almost just as challenging to print these things than to make them initially, which I didn't think, but it made me learn more about the work too, because I would just be a super obsessive about it. I'd have to make it and then scan it and then move on. I made some contact prints, but looking at a little 4x5 inch contact print is different than a 16 by 20 inch print, where now there's this little area and this area, where things need to be treated differently.
It's that precision that you required to make this portfolio of images that was really, such a good fit for this residency. We've been doing the Aurora Herron Residency since 2019, I think, and the wonderful lab that they have over at Herron has this fantastic enlarger, this zone enlarger.
Yeah, that's
over there.
been helpful.
And Ben Martinkus, who you've been working with on the residency, and he has worked with all of our Herron residents since we started the program. He's also terrific and a wonderful resource.
Yeah.
So when you applied for the residency, your goal was to create this portfolio of images, and you knew that the tools that they had, especially that zone enlarger, were going to help you make these even prints.
It makes a huge difference. It took a little getting used to, because I'm looking over at this soundboard. It's like soundboard-esque, the print timer, which usually it's like 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. So it's just an interval of time, but it's A, B, C, D, and then you can do soft or like white, or like focus on dark or light areas. But when you go from, so if I'm on like a 5 on the dark area, it could be like 15 seconds, and I'll switch it over to the light area and it'll be like 3 seconds. So I stopped thinking about it in that fashion and just started responding, rather than trying to be like plan it out. But it's been a huge help. To be able to treat the soft light in such a particular way with the negatives that are exposed on top of each other makes a big difference. And that's something that I fought when I made the first 2 prints back in Wyoming, or a lot of different things. But the highlights, and then for the highlight to feel white but not be white, and then it's sitting on white paper that's supposed to feel kind of white, so it can't be too dark, and those. So finding those ratios, it was a little bit of a learning experience, but pretty awesome. I'm gonna start to look for one, see if I can convince the college in Wyoming to invest in having one, because it'd be amazing to have, you know,
Oh yeah.
that resource
Absolutely.
for me and my students that really get into it, my advanced students, because it's pretty crazy. It takes a little trial and error, but it's fun.
So you've been here since for a week now, and how's it going? Do you have the
Good.
12 images total that you'd like to print?
I have
And
12,
are you happy? How many prints have you made that you're happy with now?
I made 10 prints. I'm happy with 9. I'll be reprinting one after the interview today. I unfortunately couldn't make lunch because I took a little longer to, as it does. I always think I'm going to be done and then not. So I'll get 1 done today, and then I'll get 2 done tomorrow, and then Wednesday I'm going to go in and flatten the prints, but also lay them out again, and then if I need to reprint one at that time.
One final look.
One final look, exactly. I've been laying them out though, and there hasn't been anything that's stood out to me other than the one that, it's kind of hard to look at, and that, again, goes back to, like, I want it to be brutal to look at, but it's so brutal. There's just too much contrast in just one area really. But I'm going to redo it because the enlarger is amazing, and to replicate
That's what the
that
time
later.
is for.
Yeah, to do that
this
later.
kind of really focused and detailed work. Yeah, absolutely. And what is the destiny of these prints? Where are they going?
Well, they're going to be shown at the Charta Festival, and with the book, or hopefully the book,
So for people who aren't aware of the Charter Festival, can you tell us what that is and when it is?
It's a photo festival in Italy. I don't know the exact dates. Communication is always a little hard with the time zone difference, but summer as well. The publisher's been traveling a lot. I'm excited for the book and for everything to come out. And there's not been too much progress on the book as of now. But we'll see. I made, of course, as I do, my own version of it, which is what received the award. So I'm just trying to kind of keep true to my vision, but also know it's a collaboration and that we have to both bend together. So I'm excited to see how that all comes out. I won't be able to go to Italy, unfortunately, but my work will be there, so that'll be nice.
Wow. I know school's starting again soon.
Yeah.
And
today is first day for my college.
Yeah. So you'll have that to look forward to. But
Yeah.
also, what's next on your horizon creatively with your photographic research?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure that out, to be honest.
Oh.
I've been so heavily working on this and focused on the energy industry, which I'm still very interested in. But I'm getting not bored, but there's a lot of corporate villains in the world, and I'm going to look around a little bit more, and I'm also interested in. I've been more and more interested in, and maybe this will be something. More and more interested in how, in the present, and consumer habits and how that affects the internet. Well, the internet and consumer buying on the internet and all these things kind of affect the earth as well. Not to take blame off of companies like Exxon that are blatantly doing these things, but another company like Amazon that is building these systems that make things so easy that you just buy all these stuff that gets you just want to look at it, and then it comes there and you return it, and then all the gas and energy and human cost that goes into getting it from here to there, and then it has to get returned, or it gets
all the cardboard,
or it gets thrown out. I'm sure we've seen stories about that. Like, if it's too low a value, we'll just throw it out.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in these issues, but I'm also very. I don't want to, because it's a strategy that they employ is to shift the burden onto consumers. Like, well, just be greener. Like, well, you just made this system that where we can't escape it. Everything, like all this plastic, like everything. It's beyond that, So I'm trying to, and I think it's also being in Wyoming and seeing, families of my students that are affected by layoffs and different things when they work with energy companies, because it goes up, it goes down so much. It's not, I don't see it as much as their fall or their burden. They're just working, essentially. They're being told what to do, and I'm more interested in looking higher up. I wish I had a clear answer. I'm writing about certain things. If I get it depends. It really depends. I also want to buy a 20 by 24 camera and make those collages on paper, so they're all unique. I played around with that as well with the 8 by 10, but if there's all those layers, it's hard to see everything when it's an 8 by 10 inch print. So yeah, I want to continue that. I want to continue my focus, but I also want to expand it. And I love working in the darkroom. I love working with film and these materials, and I would love to just make something unique too. That's something I did over the summer, is make those collages in an 8 by 10 camera. But there's something really beautiful about like doing that and then not having to go back and reprint everything, because you do it all at that time. But we'll see. But I forget how much that camera is. It's a lot of money. And the paper is a lot of money.
Sounds like something worth saving up for.
Yeah, I'm squirreling away the money. Yeah, I'm trying.
Excellent. Well, Shawn, can you just tell us real fast where people can look to follow your work in the future?
Yeah. My website is just shawnbush.com, SHAWN. Bush, like the plant, former president, which goes into my Instagram tag, which is not that Bush.
Easy to remember.
Which I feel like when I first made it, it was more relevant, because I'm closer to the Bush.
It still works. It's evergreen.
But I would always, are you related? Like, no, I would probably have a different life probably if I was related to George Bush.
And we wouldn't want that, because you probably wouldn't be here with us right now.
No, I'd probably be comfortable, not challenging anything, and just taking Daddy's money. Yeah.
Well, Shawn, I want to thank you so much for taking the time away from the darkroom. We're going to get you back into the darkroom now. But thank you for being here, and thank you again to Landon for his help in the studio today, and to all our friends at Big Car Tube Factory and Herron School of Art and Design. Yeah,
thank you, everybody. It's been amazing. It's really inspiring. I know we talked about this, but to see how you're interacting with the community. Since I've been here, my gears have been spinning about how to make the prints, and then how I can also maybe go to Detroit and go back towards family and do something similar, because it's just so beautiful. I work with people in the educational realm, but there's that financial burden that can be there that creates not as much access perhaps as a space like this. So it's really so inspiring, honestly, and to stay here and see it and wake up, like it's amazing. It really is.
Excellent. Good to hear. Thanks again, Shawn.